Nothing in this podcast is intended as investment advice, and the people in this podcast may hold positions in the stocks they talk about. Do not buy any investment based solely on a tip or recommendation. Please do your own research.
Hello and welcome to the Sunday Roast. It's the 6th of February and we're joined by Jonathan Rowland, Executive Chairman of Mode Global Holdings. Welcome, Jonathan.
Thanks, and thanks for having me.
So you recently announced that you are due to launch a standalone affiliate product in Q2 2022, which will see Mode customers receiving Bitcoin cashback from participating online retailers in the UK. Currently, over 40 online retailers have accepted Mode onto their affiliate programs. Do you want to tell us how this translates into value for the company?
Yeah, so the affiliate program is well over 100 now. I think we said 40 plus at some point, but it's well over 100 now. Those merchants that go live with us in, I think, April, it will be displayed on our app. So you'll be able to click through to some big names, some very big names who've already accepted us, and simply buy stuff and receive Bitcoin back. So it's a very well-known product that people use a lot, and we utilize it to just do things a lot quicker than we've been doing separately when we try and do big partnerships. So the affiliate program is something that's been accepted well internally, and I think we're over 100, 120 now on that program.
And how are the numbers looking like in terms of downloads and signups in the last sort of few months since you've reported?
So we're always careful with numbers. As I said, the sort of headline figures are that we've got well over 150,000 downloads, which translates into sort of 20 or 30% people actively using the app. We've run a number of marketing programs over the last 3 months, which you would have seen, including we gave one Bitcoin away, and the winner was announced he wasn't announced to the world, but he was told on, I think it was Tuesday. So we had the Bitcoin giveaway, we had the 0% fees, and a number of marketing initiatives that have been very good. And we estimated, we were going to try and get a certain amount of new users from that, and we did. We hit the targets that we put forward.
So, Jonathan, here we are. The business is quite different from probably onwards of the 19th of January, because you're here for a start and Ryan isn't. So that's obviously been a big change. So give us an idea of this roadmap that you see is going to happen with Mode over the next 12 to 24 months.
So just to address a couple of things which I know we spoke about briefly. There was a lot of confusion around a announcement that was made back in Q4 of last year regarding the affiliates program. What we stated in our RNS was correct. We did have all of those affiliates merchants signed up, and as I said, a lot of the affiliates programs, people in merchant organizations don't know they're on them, and there was nothing to say we couldn't announce who some of them were in the terms and conditions. And when we did that, there were 3 companies that obviously weren't happy that their name had been associated mainly with crypto, not with Mode, it was with crypto. And that was an issue for those organizations. And they asked us to retract the statement. In fact, one of them, as I mentioned, was very happy to have a discussion with us and look at doing something together, had they been aware of it and had they been spoken to properly beforehand, and we have followed up on that. So there was nothing incorrect in the announcement. There was nothing where we're trying to be clever. It was just a misunderstanding of what the affiliate programs are to some of the big merchants, and we learned from that. So that, coupled with a few other things that were going on in the business, which I, as largest shareholder and chairman, weren't comfortable with, and mainly around delivery, execution and speed. We made a decision to change the top management, as you saw. So Ryan Moore resigned a couple of weeks ago after discussions, and everything was amicable, and he is the 3rd largest shareholder in this company. He will remain the shareholder. He remains a friend of the business, and he will invest further. just to allay any of the fears that people have about him being a seller. He's not a seller. He's an insider anyway. He can't sell. So what have I done since 2 weeks that I came in? Well, I looked at the business top to toe. I streamlined a number of areas, and I decided that we needed to focus in on the roadmap. We were trying to do too many different things at this stage of our evolution. So we've now focused down onto 4 things that we're going to be doing. One is around delivery and execution of the current app and business. One is around the, hopefully, subject to regulatory or non-regulatory blockage, we will be trying to re-establish our jar, which was something that was very, very well received when it was launched. It might not be called the jar, it might be called something else, but it will do the same thing. And we know the customers, as I mentioned to you guys before we started, we did a huge amount of research to our customer base over the last 7 days or 10 days. And the overwhelming support for the jar coming back was clear. So we always wanted to bring it back. We were waiting for the right moment, and we will bring back that. Secondly, we've also been asked by a number of people, when are we going to add other coins? And we are in the process of looking at a way to deliver the top 5 coins behind Bitcoin. So we think we've got a quite easy solution for that. And Ethereum will play a major part in that for us. So Bitcoin and Ethereum will become subject again to any regulatory issues we may find ourselves up against. We will be delivering that this year. And then the sort of the thing that's come out of left field, which we've been toying with for the whole life of Mode, actually. We, as I said, we did a survey of our customer base. And one of those questions that always comes back to us is, when is Mode going to have a card? When are we going to be able to buy things with a card? When are we going to be able to pay our bills, put our salary in and utilize that in the app, so that it does become what it always set out to become, which was a neo-banking app. So we're now looking at the opportunity to work with a big partner, to deliver a card which will have the functionality of what we just said, but also allow people to get cash back on it and in Bitcoin. So we have this Bitcoin cashback product which we use through the merchant base. We think we can find a way to open the whole Visa network, basically, if we have a Visa card, to people who are interested to get Bitcoin cashback. So the roadmap is very targeted now. Clean up the app, get the app working well. It works well, but it can do much better. Bring back the products that we know that worked. Look at the other coins that are in the market and find a solution to broaden out our coin offering, and a very, very serious, deep look into a card product which we believe could revolutionize what we're doing.
Sorry for being not very clever, but what's jar mean?
We launched a product in 2020 called the Bitcoin Jar, and the Bitcoin Jar was an interest-bearing account for Bitcoin. So at the time, you could transfer your pounds into the app, buy Bitcoin, and then transfer the Bitcoin into the jar. And at the time, you're earning 5%. It was a very, very innovative and exciting product. We had to withdraw it as part of our FCA licenses and approvals. So we were told by the FCA if we withdrew the jar, we'd get the licenses quicker. So we did that on the basis that we would come back to them at some point and resubmit something that we want to do. So that's what we're doing now.
Now we're on the topic of Bitcoin. You historically have held Bitcoin in your treasury. So what's the position with that now? Obviously, Bitcoin's fallen pretty sharply. How does Mode stand in that situation now?
So I can't remember the dates, but I think it was November perhaps. I got very uncomfortable with the crypto market, and I took the decision that we had to sell 90% of our Bitcoin holdings. We sold them at $52,000, which was roughly 100% gain on where we had averaged in. I think it's 37,000 now. It got down to 32. So I think we did the right thing. We were prudent, careful, cautious, and the risk wasn't sitting well with me, so I liquidated the Bitcoin position. That's proved to be the right thing. We will sit on the sidelines now and see what happens. Maybe we will deploy more money back into Bitcoin, but at this stage, I'm more comfortable with cash than Bitcoin.
Trying to call the bottom, isn't it? Basically, it's like any trade. I believe you've done that. You've traded about 2 or 3 times now. Is that right?
We've always been net holders, but we have sold small bits occasionally, and we have added. But I can't remember the highest price we paid, but it was certainly a lot lower than it is now. And we started buying at about 8,000. So it's been a great trade for us. It's been a fantastic trade, 100% profit on our Bitcoin treasury.
Okay, so basically the company's sitting with a pot of cash now and deciding what it's going to do. So the other question that many of the people were asking me is Mode going to need to raise any money to proceed with this way forward?
You know, I've always said from day one that this business needs cash to grow, and our competition has raised millions and millions and millions, from Revolut that's raised $1 billion down to some of the smaller guys that have raised 50, 100 million. We have done this from the start on just under 20 million pounds. If we want to create a small business, then we could turn this into a profitable business by the end of this year. We could focus in on 1 or 2 things, but that's not my ambition. My ambition was always much bigger than that. So the reason I took the company public was it gave us the opportunity to get our name out there in a more sort of credible way. We found that a lot of the social media partners we worked with would not work with us as a private company. So marketing on Facebook and Google and those things wasn't allowed as a private company. And we were in the middle of the pandemic where I thought the world's going to end. And if I've got access to capital from a public market, that would be a better place to be. I never, ever said this business didn't need more money. This business needs more money to grow and to take advantage of the opportunities that we see. When we will raise money, I don't know yet. We're certainly not short of cash, and it would just come down to what the right timing is, who the right people are, and obviously the share price has dropped and everyone's upset about that. I fully understand that, but there's nothing I can do about that. We will offer, whenever we do raise money, we'll offer this to all our shareholders. It's if you like the business at 50p, you must like it at 15p, right? And I don't say that flippantly because I know a lot of people have lost money and it means a lot. So I'm fully supportive of this company with some of the other shareholders. We will fund the business. There's no sort of plan for that at this stage. We don't know when we're going to do it. But we do need more capital. We always said we were going to raise more capital. We never said anything else. And if we want to compete against all the people who we are competing against, we can't do it without having a similar playing field. But what I will tell you is I don't waste money. This isn't my first business. I've had lots of businesses which I've created. I'm always very cautious with money. I'm careful with money. I don't waste it. And I'd rather deliver products at work and then say, look, we've delivered that. Now we're going to raise money to do X, Y, Z and get people to see the delivery that we've done rather than just spray money everywhere and hope for the best. So everything we do has a target of being successful, whether it's profitability, bringing users to the platform, whatever it might be. But we have to show that we're delivering. And with the prospectus, as I said, we delivered everything in that prospectus, everything. And then we went to our numbers in the research report, which was published by Rowland in December. We met our numbers last year precisely. And this year we're on target to do that in the first month of January. We hit our January figures. So nothing has changed here. We are delivering. We are doing things carefully, cautiously, with research and good people. But as that saying goes, Rome wasn't built in a day. Revolut's been going 10 years. We've been going 3. We just haven't had the opportunity yet to prove what we're doing is wanted, needed, as we know it is. And we have not had the opportunity to really display what we're doing and the innovation that we've done here and the things that people have never done before. So the crypto, Bitcoin, payments all together, it's never been done before. This is a complete new paradigm for everyone. So we are taking the steps alongside our peers and our competitors, and we're doing things cautiously and carefully. And that's a long-winded answer to the question, Kevin, but we never said we weren't going to raise more money. We will raise more money. We'll raise it at the right time from the right people, and we will make sure everyone is involved in that.
Yeah. So basically, you're not going to raise next week is the answer. But you do need money, and that's what businesses go on the stock market for, to raise money. That's so they can grow. So this is should be expected from people, but ultimately there is no sword hanging over your neck now that says we desperately need money. Yeah, and I think that's what people wanted to have confirmed, which I think you have confirmed.
Just to answer that finally, it's not a secret what my history is and who I am, and the shareholders in this business, who some of them are. This company has shareholders with very deep pockets. I'm not relying on the stock market to raise me money, because that's too risky. If you're just relying on a broker or a bunch of financiers to help you raise money, you're at the sort of you're doing how they're feeling on that day, how they're going with their current business. So what I'm saying to you is that there's never been an issue with funding for this business. There never will be, unless it just doesn't work and crypto goes to zero and no one likes payments anymore. There will never be an issue with funding this business because the shareholders have very deep pockets. And if nobody wants to touch this because they don't believe in it or whatever, there's shareholders here who will fund this business. So I think we have to look at the norm and look at this sort of business, which has the backing of me and my family and other families. It's not the same as a mining company without any wealthy investors who are raising money all the time to dig and drill and do whatever. This is a very serious shareholder base majority within this business, and we will fund it. So there should never ever be a worry that Mode is going to run out of money. And that was what was happening in the sort of last 6 months, where people looked at 1 + 1 and got to 5 and said, well, they'll be out of money tomorrow. There's going to be a placing. It's going to be desperate. It was never going to be like that. This is the least of my worries. Funding this business is the least of my worries. The things that I worry about are, can we deliver, execute, and stay up with the competition for the next few years? That's what I worry about. I don't worry about funding this business because we have a toolkit that is second to none. We're fully regulated in the UK, something not many people have. We have this 5 AMLD crypto registration, which only 33 people have. We're getting approached by people to use that as a white label product. So there's all sorts of things happening in this business. It's exciting. I'm glad to be back in control, but I just want to say once again, this business will never struggle for funding.
Putting that to one side, try and explain to me how this roadmap is going to create revenue for Mode.
Well, everything we do, we have revenue at the top of our thoughts, right? Because we're not in this for fun. We're in this to make money. So we already have products that are revenue generating. So we have our app, which earns fees on trading and various other things. We have our payments platform, which is fully owned by us. And we built the technology. We built a new payment rail, which we earn every transaction that people do on our platform, we earn from. So we already have those revenue streams, and we have a global services business, which is really was the way this started, and it's not that relevant to the business anymore, but we have an agreement with WeChat Pay and Alipay where we earn revenue from being the middleman, the merchant acquirer between merchants in the UK and those two bigger apps, WeChat Pay and Alipay. So we already have revenue streams. Going forward, the bringing back of the jar brings us quite simply a margin on where we lend against and what we give to what we can pass on to our customer. Very similar to banking with a deposit. That's a simple way to earn money. We are looking into, again, this has all come from our survey, but a subscription model for a possible card product, and that will bring us revenue from the subscription model, and just a number of other things that fall in around that. So, and we're not short of revenue ideas. The crypto market in general is very profitable. The margins in crypto are very high at the moment. That worries me. But at the moment, the sort of ability to make margin in the crypto industry, whether it be Bitcoin and Ethereum or things around that, is significant. So I'm not worried that we don't have a business model or revenue streams. We have revenue. We had 1.4 million in revenue last year. This year we're going for 5 million. I think we'll get those targets pretty easily, and we're going for 150,000 users. That shouldn't be a problem either. Some other things we're doing, which you may have read about, we have launched this payroll, Bitcoin payroll. So we got some interesting things coming up shortly, but we're getting a lot of traction on that. A lot of people in the sort of modern tech companies, younger age, definitely want to be paid in Bitcoin. So we got an open door when we're talking to payroll companies and smaller companies. The affiliates program we spoke about brings us revenue. So there's plenty of things to make money on it from this business, and I think probably our figures are pretty conservative this year.
The business will. This is mainly UK based, or are you all over?
UK based.
And you have any plans that will go to Europe or go to the US or?
You know what, I worry about businesses that try and do too many things like that. Rolling out across Europe or to the US is very difficult. Plus, the regulatory burden of doing that is high. So we always, from day one, suggested we wanted to do things properly in a grown-up way in a jurisdiction that was blue chip. And in the end, we chose the UK. I want to do the UK very well. I don't really want to get diverted or disrupted by going and saying we're going to offer European stuff this year or America. It's just not going to, I just don't think we should. We did talk about it last year, a European rollout, but I just want to do something good. I want to do one place really good, really well, with something that everyone likes and uses. And then once we've demonstrated that, fine. Can we replicate that in European country? Perhaps. Can we replicate it in the US? Perhaps. But my focus isn't there at the moment.
If Mode was to have 250,000 customers with the bank accounts, if you like, payrolls going into you, and then holding their Bitcoins with you, and lots of other things happening, how would that add up to Mode being a successful company? What sort of revenues do you think would be generated from that type of situation?
Well, I'm going to go back to the work we did on the research note. So I think everyone's had access to it now, but we're saying if we can do what we said we're going to do in the figures, that by the end of 2023, revenues will be 21 million and profit will be 9 million. That's based on basically user numbers. I haven't got the user numbers in front of me, but it's based on a growth in user numbers based on all the assumptions we make for those users. So I would say that in 2023, if we should be able to make a profit of nearly double figure millions. That's a hugely profitable business. There's no business in our sector really making money yet.
Yeah, that's a 150 million pound business minimum.
Well, I would say a lot bigger than that. But
yeah, in the tech space, you're going to use a much bigger PE. But yes, I know what you're saying. I'm being concerned.
Yeah, I mean, you get higher valuations these days if you make a loss, right? So I think once you turn things to a profit, people say, well, we can now value that properly. It makes 10 million. We'll call that 10 to 15 times earnings, whatever. When you're losing 20, 50 million, you can call it whatever you like, which has always been strange to me. But I think this business, if we get it right, and we will, the targets we put out there will be minuscule, and we will need funding to get there. I've always said that. It says it in the research note, so everyone should know what we're doing because it says it in the research note, and everyone's had access to it. So we will raise money. We do need to raise money to take this to where it should get to and where it belongs. And I think we can have double-digit million revenues and profitability by the end of sort of year 3.
No, it all sounds very positive what's happening now, but right now the market is obviously is pricing you to fail, to be honest. So I don't really know why, but can you offer us any insights into why you think that might be?
As we spoke briefly before, I've got no idea. It depends how you analyze failure. I don't think I've ever failed. I don't intend to fail here. And all I can suggest is that I think a lot of the shareholders believe that these sort of businesses can deliver very, very quickly. They can't. As I said, Revolut is over 10 years old. Monzo and Starling, 10 years old. They all have a lot longer in the life cycle so far than us. And we are 2 years of operations and maybe 3 years of being around. We've done a lot in that period. We've done a lot. And I can't tell you why the share price is where it is. I can't estimate what's going to happen to it. I've got no idea. But if you like this company at 50p, 40p, 30p, 20p, 15p, then buying at 12, 13p is, for me, honestly, if we can get to a fundraising at some point, I'll put as much money as I can. There's no bigger stamp of positivity than the current shareholders willing to put whatever money they can into this business because they all believe in it. So that's where we are.
Yeah, and you've got a lot of skin in the game, right? Looking at the numbers, you're the single biggest shareholder in this company. So,
how much do you have, Jonathan, in the company? And I don't mean money; I mean percentage.
It's just under 20. They're just under 21, 20% roughly. Other people connected to me have got about 10. Ryan's got 7. Some other big guys have got 3 and 4. So we got over 50% of the shareholder base who will put money up, and they'll maintain their position, unequivocal.
And when you look at 91 million shares in issue, there's not a massive amount of free float. Looking on the stats at the moment, there's a grey wedge. I look on SharePad Pro, and there's a lovely bit of pie. They show you the pie chart. I'm looking at it now, and it can't be much more than 20% free float or something like that, 15%. So
all the shareholders are in this for long term, and they're willing to follow them.
Yeah.
I can't give a signal better than that. I don't know many businesses that can do that. They can sit there and say, if we raise money, 50% of the shareholder base will follow their money. That means we're not going to fail, right? So that's the only way. I don't know why the share price is where it is. Maybe no one likes me. Maybe they think the company's shouldn't be on the public market. Maybe, I don't know. I've got no idea. But for me, it's a value opportunity for people to buy into a company that's got all the toolkit to make a very successful business in a very exciting area. We're delivering and we're executing. Yeah, there's a few road bumps and hurdles we've got to get through, but everyone does. So I don't know how more positive I can be about this and tell people that the business has a future, it's supported well, and we have the toolkit to make it happen.
You look at these challenger banks. I call them challenger banks. I don't know if it's the right phrase, but I quite like it. Revolut and all, Tide and things like that. And I see this as big. Gone are the days where you can go into your bank anyway on the high street and actually have an appointment with your bank manager. You just try doing that, especially during the pandemic. It's never going to happen. So these, banking apps are so good, like Revolut, like the ability to buy Bitcoin and other, even trading on the markets now. So I like Mode. I like the fact that, you can download it for free. You can set it up. You can hold Bitcoin. It's just like, it's the ease of it, isn't it? And I think that I can see Mode becoming another one of those Revoluts and those Tides eventually.
Yeah, well, that's what we set out to do.
Yeah,
I set out to build a super app with a strong bent towards crypto and towards payments. And I've done it before. I've done all this stuff before. I've established 2 banks in my life. I've been involved in 3 banks. I've physically restructured one and started one from scratch, all of which have been hugely successful. I've been involved in many businesses. So I'm the first person who will stand up and say, this isn't working and I don't want to do this anymore and we've got to change it. I'm absolutely not at that point with this business. This business is at the first hurdle. We got years to go here. We've got so much opportunity, so many different things coming out of left field. The innovation is amazing. Things are a lot easier than they were 20 years ago. You try and build a tech company 20 years ago, it cost you 10 times as much or more. Things are very easy these days. You can plug things in and add functionality very easily. So the opportunity is huge, and we might go off in 6 different directions over the next few years. But the ultimate goal is to create a super app that is easy to use for everybody and has all of the new age financial tools around it, including crypto, which we're big believers in.
I see it. It's very interesting. It's almost like you are a filter, and the way I sort of I'm envisaging it is that as the amount of money, whatever way that comes in, whether it's through Bitcoin or through cash or through income or through transactions through other companies, as it goes through this filter, you keep whatever it may be, 1 or 2% of the money, and the rest flows into your system, which is people's money. And the more money that pours into this, the more money that Mode is going to make, and the more ways that you can pour that water in, i.e. money, then the more money it's going to make. So I think it's a very exciting proposition, and scale is going to mean you're going to go crazy. I mean, the amount of profit you can make with scale on this, it's like, as you say, it's like a Visa card, effectively. Visa are making 3 or 4% on every transaction. So they just print money, and maybe this is not as profitable, but I see it's the same concept. So we'll wish you a great deal of luck from this point. I think from where you are now, I would have to say I think the only way is up, based on what I've been looking at in terms of the prices and the value, and the fact that you hold an amount of cash already within the business. So the business isn't even worth the 12 or 13 million pounds that it is at the minute, because you must have several million in cash at the very least from the sale of those Bitcoins. So it's a great situation to be in, and I can see.
I would just say to your listeners that compare us to anybody in the market, and the valuation makes no sense. And that's not me giving a investment tip. I'm just saying, just analyze anybody else in the market, and you will see there's a discrepancy in valuation. Either they're all worth too much or we're worth too little. And as you said, there's not a lot of downside from there. A lot of people who work for me come and say, because they all look at the share price, my God, what's going to happen? I said, well, it can't go lower than zero, right? So there's not a lot of downside. There's got to be more upside, and I wouldn't be back in control if I didn't think the opportunity was as huge as it is, and I always knew it was. And there's definitely a discrepancy in valuations between the private sector and our competition and us. We're the only listed company in London who has a consumer Bitcoin offering at its core. There's no one else.
And I even look at, forget about what it's invested in and all the rest of it. I look at your revenues of £5 million in a business by the end of this year, in a business that is growing. You're going to be minimum 6 to 10 times that valuation. And that's being very conservative.
Thanks for your support, and I hope your viewers find this helpful.
Jonathan Rowland, Executive Chairman of Mo Global Holdings, thanks very much for your time.
Thanks, guys.
So dare I say that there is a bit of positivity coming back into this market this week? Have we had a better week?
Dare you say it? Maybe on one of my main shares I cannot say it, but in the market as a whole, yes, I think so.
Oh, come on, one share in your portfolio that's probably down to 3 or 4 anyway. It's not going to, if you check the wider market, Metcoal's had an absolutely stonking week. Ben's had a great week. Contango Holdings have just literally, I think they finished around the 9.08, which is up about, it's certainly up 21% today. It's probably up more like 40% this week. So that's been a great one. But yeah, if I look at the whole of my watch list, which is obviously quite large in terms of the stocks that I've been with people that we've had on and that are on my radar. Well, it's looking really good. Extract Resources have actually let's not go into the week. Let's go through the 12 stocks for the 12 days of Christmas or 12 picks for 2022 and review them. And because we said we'd give an update on there. So should we start off with some of the losers rather than going on and sort of singing our praises?
Well, the biggest loser so far is Chill Brands, and it was one of the biggest.
Just out of interest, who's that? Who's the big proponent of that one?
That's definitely me, mate. But watch this space; it can only go up from here, as far as I'm concerned.
It
2
can't
weeks.
get much worse, can it? It's dropped from over £1, and it's. I mean, like, literally.
Well, John's story is basically sold this week.
Yeah.
13.6% of the company. So what's going to happen to the share price? Like, it was sitting comfortably at 16 to 18p. He starts selling, and then in a week he sells everything he owns. He doesn't like go half measures. He sells everything. Now, we don't know for sure yet because the TR1 hasn't come out, but the exact number of shares that he owned were sold, like to the one, 7 million, and one, So I'm pretty sure that will be confirmed next week. So is it a bounce play now? Is it like there's going to be, I think market cap's £15 million for the company, was 240 million at one point. Seems seriously overdone when you look at mode that we've just talked about as well. And I think this is one of these trading situations that many shares hitting the market doesn't just get absorbed like in one go. I can openly say I've had it this week because it was time to reduce your average because the prices were so low, 7.5p to 8p to 8.5p. It did go back up to 9p, and then there was a bit more of, I think, Mr. Story's, either him or his friends, then selling as well.
Yeah, I mean, it was all looking good when, we got Mike on, and we called it the Mikey bounce. I can't remember the phrase for it, but it did really well. It went up to sort of 15, 6. I thought it was on the road to recovery, that one. And then it just suddenly, as you say, there was the announcement. I think that there was the TR1s. Everybody knew John was selling down, and it's just been beaten down, as you say. I think in general, the whole, we've said it before, the whole of the CBD sector has been really, really beaten down. MGC Pharma, CBX, Life, all those companies have really suffered. So I just hope that they are going to move with some of the resource sectors, that sentiment comes back and we see this real positivity, because the CBD sector isn't going anywhere. They're saying that this year it's going to be bigger than it's ever been. It's bigger than vitamin C supplements. It's got the potential to be pretty large.
Yeah, no, I'm very, very positive about Chill. Even taking into the equation what's happened to the share price this week, because I am, of the mind that this is going to be one of those brands. There will be a few. It doesn't have to be a massive worldwide brand to be worth significantly more than it currently is. I mean, you're talking about probably declared revenues now of £2 to £2.5 million. If those revenues go up to, let's say, £20 million, what should it be valued at? Probably should be valued somewhere in the region of £150 million. So that doesn't get us a million miles away from where Mike was talking about, £1.50, which for me was an exaggeration. And we said 50p, I think, collectively, that we thought by the end of this year. But if you go from 8p to 50p this year, if they manage to achieve those type of revenues, which is a distinct possibility, I think, then that's going to be one hell of a result. So I'm despondent because my portfolio looks crap. But actually, if it turns the other way, it's going to make a massive difference to my portfolio. So that's Chill.
That's down 48%. So let's just call it. It's halved in value, but that's fine. I mean, you say there's the potential for recovery there. Is moving on to the next one, Mast Energy Development, and I cannot believe that this share that is revenue generating is so misunderstood. It's so underloved or unloved that it's unreal, isn't it?
Absolutely crazy. Like 37% down since we tipped it. 5.5 pence, absolute bargain of the century by the end of this year. I think we got 18p on it, and it's electricity. We've all been talking about. I mean, who knew that their electricity bill is going to go up by however many £100 this year? Okay, and why? Part of the reason is because the electricity companies also need to make sure that as the green stuff comes in, that these gas peaking things take over. So you've always got electricity. So these things are absolutely massively in demand.
And as soon as they come online through MAST, they're going to need them. They're going to be selling, and the government has increased the hours. What was it? It was increased from 1,500 hours a month to 4,000 hours a month, was it? I think, or was that annually? I don't quite remember. I think it was 4,000 a month. So now they can be used more than 2 to 2.5 times more than when the business plan was originally set out. So, for me, it's a very safe investment. And from this position, it's like crazy cheap. So, yeah, but we live and learn, hey?
Yeah.
But it's only just begun, so I'm not too worried about that. Next one on our list is Conroy Gold.
Yeah, last week's Sunday roast, we had Professor Conroy on, and
That's
he,
right.
he pretty much put all the myths, dispelled the myths and all the rumor around the company, and it not being right, the licenses not, all those things you see on those bulletin boards of people saying it's not going to come and placings needed. He dispelled all the myths, and it looks good. And when will the market wake up to that one? So that one's on the back burner for the moment. It's gonna. I mean, it's just a case of obviously they get the mining. The royalty side of things done, which will be hopefully the next bit of news.
Yeah.
And then hopefully there'll be then a road.
The royal license and the 1 million euros.
And then there'll be the €1 million payment, hopefully, which even he sort of jested, saying, well, doesn't really matter when it comes because we really don't need the money in the sense of, there's no cash raise needed. So I think that one's down about 34%, isn't it, on the start of the year.
Yeah, and then we move on then to ones that haven't moved so much now. We've got Cloudbreak Discoveries, which is basically just a full-on collection of all the different metals that you want to talk about that are in vogue at the minute. Copper, it's going to have some lithium plays. It's got a helium play. It's got gold. It's got many different projects. And literally on the current market cap, from the 16 projects it's got, it only needs one of them to work, and it'll be significantly more than the current market cap. And it's got 16 of them. And it's got this triangular basis where it's got shares from all the companies that have gone joint ventures with it. It gets cash, and it will also get royalties as the different projects progress. So again, I suppose not a lot has happened with that, but it's very, very cheap. We thought it was cheap when it was around 2p, I think, is what we had it at. So now at 175 seems very cheap. What do you think, Phil?
Yeah, I mean, and the market cap's sub 8 million. I mean, I think it's just a case of that a lot of people don't really understand royalty generators or project generate companies. So there is an element of that in it, that just a misunderstanding. And I think once they start to see some more results coming out, because you say there's so many projects, it's quite a frequent news flow, although there hasn't been many RNSs in the start of the year, but certainly the back end of last year, news flow was strong. There was a lot of projects that were starting to really take shape. And I think, we just need to get the news flow out again and move forward. But it's very undervalued, and it's a kind of like I wouldn't say it's a safe play, but it's kind of like a nice place to put your money, isn't it?
It's a very diversified play, isn't it? The one project is not going to see this thing suddenly fly down. But one project could see it fly up. That's the difference.
Yeah, I mean, they've got plays in lithium, they've got plays in helium, they've got plays in copper, gold, silver, and the royalties they're getting, the smelter royalties are actually quite strong. They're quite high percentages.
And Kyler did say there would be a lot more news when we interviewed him. I think late last year there'll be a lot more news coming in the new year. So I think we can expect more news shortly as well in terms of the different projects. And if we think what we think is happening, which is basically if we look at the top performers, that the resource sector is starting to move. So we're starting to have some movement in terms of what we should be thinking of. We go on then to Keras Minerals, which really hasn't moved. It's just stayed where it is. Yeah. It's really waiting for that joint venture with Jubilee, I think, and when that happens, I think we should see fireworks, to be honest, because I think it should do very well.
They're also waiting on quite a few assays. It's the same old thing, isn't it, with these miners at the moment, these explorers, that they're waiting on a lot of assay results from laboratories, which are unbelievably busy at the moment. So that there's a backlog of a lot of assay results for many companies that are in our kind of 12 stock pick.
Yeah,
so,
that's correct. And I mean, the assays, I think it was something crazy, like 1,500 meters of different drill, or maybe more. I made about 15,000 meters, I think it was, of different assays that were done in all the dumps and all the different things around Cyprus. So yeah, absolutely no problems with that. Hasn't really moved. So still the opportunity, I think, to buy in, but yeah, not much happening at all there. And then one that actually, on the basis of right now, hasn't moved, that's Love Hemp.
There's a corporate update that's just come out. And I mean, there's significant news this week, was the fact that they've appointed 2 new non-executive directors to the board, in the form of 2 pretty good hires, really. You've got Gary Cook. Gary's got a wealth of experience across a number of sporting, obviously, namely Nike, Inc., and obviously been setting up the brand Jordan, which is obviously a very, very, very big brand. That brand Jordan, I believe, sponsor Paris Saint-Germain Football Club, not Nike. Actually, it's branded as Air Jordan. And also he was responsible for representing the ownership of the Man City Football Club and its purchase of the team and operating as the club CEO. So he's got, I mean, and he also joined the UFC. So, and as you know, at Love Hemp have obviously got the UFC agreement, the activation deal, a 5-year contract to obviously have work in conjunction with them in a form of white label products, UFC powered or UFC CBD oils powered by Love Hemp, potentially going forward. A great eye. And the other one was an interesting one that was a bit out of the blue, was a gentleman called Graham Mullis, who some of you will probably remember him from being the recently retired CEO of Novacyte. They were the COVID antigen and the PCR testing. I think they were the PCR testing side to the COVID pandemic, to the SARS-CoV virus. And they went from, I think they were like 15p a share, and they went up to about £11 at the peak. So yeah, I think they oversaw growth of Novacyte from £1 million in sales to more than 277 million in sales through a mixture of organic and acquisitive growth. So very, very interesting couple of hires. And then, as you say, they've just had a corporate update, which says that they're going to raise financing for up to £2 million at a penny a share, which is at a slight discount to the closing price as of today, or as of Friday, at 1.25 pence. The move to the main market, which is on track for Q1, so that's all good. I do believe that the share price, the reason that it's really been decimated is just because of the hugely illiquid exchange it's on at the moment on Aquis. I don't think that, I mean, it certainly would have retreated and retraced just like a lot of the CBD stocks, but I do believe that it hasn't, it's been exacerbated by the exchange it's on. So obviously, the strength in the board, there's some operational initiatives underway to enhance shareholder value, moving to a new facility, which will result in obviously the consolidation of a lot of the business activities all under one roof. And also they've announced that the 2 board members, obviously Andrew Mail and Tony Calamita, will be electing to accept their remuneration in shares until end of June this year, along with others in the company, or until such time as the board determines it's appropriate. So there's a lot of sacrifices being made to see the company grow and reduce the amount of working capital expenditure, I guess, is the way. So yeah, all very positive. That the roadmap is in place now to get onto the market and move things forward. So yeah, all looking good, mate. I couldn't be happier really with that.
The next one we're going to talk about then, Love Hemp basically just even Stevens as it speaks, and has had an incredible week, I suppose, because it came from about 0.75 to 1.25, had a huge upturn on one day.
I mean that presented quite a gift. I mean, so anybody who was lucky enough to top up in the points, sub 1p, well done to you. Certainly at the moment it's looking good, but we'll see how it does. But you're absolutely right, it's complete parity at the moment. It's at zero change. So moving on to the next one,
which was Extract Resources, which is had a great week again. It's actually today UT'd at 6.2, but it was actually really 6.4 or 6.3. So it's saying it's up just under 20%. Massive potential. I think that the company is underwritten by the projects that it has outside of this Australian huge copper deal that it has, which basically with Anglo-American, and Colin is talking very strongly that mid this year they're going to be starting to declare and negotiate with them, and if they don't want it, then they don't want it. It'll then go onto the market and see who wants it. 2 million tons of contained copper is a hell of a lot, and the world needs copper. Simple as that. So very happy with that. Up 20% in sort of 5 weeks or 6 weeks. Yeah. Very nice.
They've also had some good news. They had some more assay results, didn't they, from coming through from Ascot, I believe, this week, which looked pretty good. I mean, they weren't barnstormers, but they were just again reaffirming the depth. There was 76 meters at 0.41. There was like 18 meters at 0.67. So all pretty, it's all consistent results that we'd expect. Really, it's a very satisfactory result.
Yeah, and this is the second puffery or whatever you call it. So the scenario is that they think they're probably over the line with Racecourse, but now they've got Ascot as well. So it's like, who knows how much copper there could be there.
Feeling it just feels different. No, I'm just saying it feels different. This rise now that it feels. I don't know. It's not the spike and the drop that we've had. It's been a steady, continual but very steady rise. And there's been a little bit of retracement, but it's held strong over the 6p, hasn't it, over the last couple of sessions? And it feels like sentiment's returning, and people are really, all last interview we did with Colin, if you remember, there was the talk about a decision has been made on the board. They're really ramping things up. They don't just want to keep sinking holes and making it a bigger colander. They really want to make that decision come probably April, May, or say by end of H1. That they want to make that decision to mine, which will go hand in hand with triggering the Anglo buyback, which should then really start to then see a valuation accretion in the share from it hit 8-9p as its all-time high, I think, at the beginning of last year, or sort of like spring of last year. So why is it dropped back now when they've sunk so many more holes? They've proved so much more of the actual asset of the Bushranger. So for me, this one is the one that I really am pinning my belief on, that Colin can reciprocate and do what he did for Kuara at the Kalambila mine and sell this asset to a major.
Yeah, and if he does, it's going to be, I don't even want to take a guess, but it's many multiples of where it is now. That's for sure.
Well, I mean, all right, it's a 50 million cap. So let's be conservative and say it goes for 250 million, which would be cheap. Well, you're looking at 4 to 5x on the current SP. So a 6p, 4-5x. If I say 5x, it's 30p.
Yeah, and that means you've got 3 other assets that are still probably worth 6 to 10p, to be honest. So yeah, it's glad we picked it, and I think this year's going to be transformational for it for sure. Okay, next one, Seed Innovations. Up 19.8%. It's about 7p. Was actually higher than that.
It was way high. I mean, it hit about 8.5. It almost hit 9. I think this would have been the top riser on there, wouldn't it?
Yeah, possibly. From my perspective, miles to go. We're going to have the leap gaming thing's going to happen in the next few months for sure. So that's going to be an event that creates money for sure, whether it's cash, shares, or whatever. It's going to create money. So yeah, and all the other assets are also in the sort of cannabis space. A couple of the shares are extremely being well received. The one in Germany, I think he talked about, is it My Little Green Farmer in Australia as well, has been flying. Not necessarily the share price, but as Ed said when we interviewed him, the transaction of how the company was working was extremely good. So yeah, I can't see anything but positive things for that. Next one then, Phil, now we come into the three miners who are effectively at the top, but they are split actually, because they're split by Hydrogen Utopia, because it's done about 30 odd percent. Okay. From 7.5% to 9.875% pence it is now today. It's drifting down a bit. A few people are flipping. Obviously, there needs to be some more news on what's happening, but I still think it's massively, the potential is just absolutely phenomenal of what it could actually do. And that's what's very exciting about turning, plastic waste into hydrogen or energy in general. And
it's nice to recommend a stock that has some can make a difference or could make a difference, will make a difference to the future generations, to attitudes, to changing. It is an attitude. It's like, I heard it so many times recently, what we failed to do 30 years ago is plan to make a change, to use something that wasn't reliant and to become solely reliant on hydrocarbons, on oil, gas, and all, as a natural resource, and actually put something in place that was an alternative fuel. It's all there are shale gas that we could be self-sufficient rather than importing all our own, all our current energy in from rest of Europe, Ukraine, or wherever, from Russia through the Ukraine. We need an alternative source. This is a game changer. It just needs the first of a kind. We need Conin to start, we need boots on the ground there. We need to see progress. And there's no doubt in my mind, this will be a game-changing stock.
Okay, so then we come to the three miners, which are at the top. Surprisingly enough, two of them are actually metallurgical coal miners, one with a bit of gold thrown in for luck as well. But the first one, Ben's Creek, up to 42%, up 29, sorry, not 42%, 42 pence, up 29%. Really think this, again, is the start of the journey. First revenues are in. Wash plant looks like it's going to be, it's being tested, so it's already working. So that should be announced shortly. The railroad is nearly finished to start shipping it out. The big news, really, that we didn't expect was they bought a second high wall miner, which basically increases revenue and production by 2, which is a game changer. And it hasn't been priced in at all. Share price hasn't really gone up significantly in terms of that particular situation. So, if you say production is twice, then, profit is twice. So what should the share price have done? That would be my question. But at the same time, nearly 30% increase from when we recommended it. It's extremely good. And then we move on to, I think, one of the small cap ones, which we both think is like crazily undervalued with the 3 projects. That's African Pioneer, AFP. And that's currently up 51%. So if you put all your portfolio in that in January, well done. I doubt anybody did, but if you did, well done.
Yeah, but so looking at these two, so that the number one and this one are pretty much joint. We'll call these joint number one because they're exact. I make them as exactly the same. They're 51.3% rises, so that's good enough for me to call it a joint, joint tie. So AFP. We were talking about this today. I can't remember. I was talking to someone who's an investor on the phone, and basically, name me another. Any junior miner, in fact, there's no other junior miner on the market. In fact, there's probably no other miner on the market that has got 2 joint venture deals with 2 majors. Get it in your mind: Sandfire Resources and First Quantum. These are not just small fry miner. These are big, mid-tier mining companies. One of them recently, Sandfire, just bought a mine in the north of Spain for 1.3 billion euros. If they've got that amount of expenditure to, it just shows you how big they are. They're 10 billion market cap, 20 billion market cap. I think First Quantum is a Canadian company, and they've got a market cap of something like $15 billion or something ridiculous. So very, very large mining company. And why would they be working with a £5 million cap company, Kev? What do you think they like their assets?
I think they love their assets. I think they want to use all their assets as much as possible. But the interesting part about this company is that Colin also has the deal in Namibia as well, and he's actually in Namibia at the minute. And you know what he's like? He's a dealer wheeler, or a wheeler dealer, and he's down there doing some other deals, I'm sure. And he's not going to stop. Like African Pioneer's got 3 deals. Extract Resources has got 4 things that are happening. What else did we talk about? What's the names of the other one? Basanta's got the connection with CMRS and other deals as well. And Galileo has got a great copper deal there, absolutely amazing, and going to have more cash than its current market price. So all of them are incredibly good, but really do think the standout is the African Pioneer. It looks like amazing. 5.7 million market cap at 2.95p. No harm to you, but this has got to be worth many factors higher, based on the deals that they've got. And then the joint top, Contigo Holdings,
No.
Contango Holdings. Contango Holdings, don't ask me to pronounce the names right. I'm not going to do it. Contango Holdings, huge amounts of coal, met coal, which they're going to turn into coking coal. They're going to be getting huge amounts of money for that. I think it's $500, $600, $700 a ton. They're bringing the coking coal plants in on modular things, I think. So initially working off small coking plants, and then they'll go to a bigger one. And then they've got the huge issue of gold in Mali, and how that progresses. I mean, we're talking, I think, between 500,000 and 2 million ounces there potentially, and maybe more. We really don't know, and I don't think they know truly, to be honest. So at the minute, that's had a fantastic week, 9p now, but I think it's got a lot more to give.
I think it's just the start of it. I really do. I think this is one we could see a sort of similar once they start getting those first coking batteries out. I think they'll see a Ben style rise from the 28 million cap into the 50s, 60s, 70s, and maybe even towards the 80s, 90s. It wouldn't surprise me in the slightest. Especially when the key here is the met coal price. Met coal high vol A went through $400 on the short ton, and high vol B was around the 345 mark, I believe. I mean, that is all-time high, and it's not just spiking and dropping back. It's every day or every week increasing.
That's metric ton, not short ton, but you're right. Well, we did the sums, didn't we? Even when the price of coking coal was a bit less, and there was EBITDA potentially of about 90-something million dollars, I think it was, for CGO by the end of the year, annualized, based on what they were hoping to produce. So there is absolutely no reason why you can't talk of even 100 million market cap, to be honest. But I mean, let's not over-egg it. At the minute, that is our joint top, African Pioneer and Contango. And yeah, so if you add them all up, I think we probably would be positive. If you put £100 in each one or £1,000 in each one, you for sure would be positive, I think, now. Because we have 3 or 4 that have done more than 30% and only 2 or 3 that have done minus. But even the minus ones at the minute, not too worried about them. I think actually, we should be rocking and rolling soon. 2, 4, 5, 6. We've got 7 in the positive, 1 very close to break even, and 4 down as it stands at the minute. So that isn't bad in terms of the ones we've chosen, and hopefully they're going to continue to progress.
Yeah, I mean, we'll just have to see how things go. I mean, it's one of them. It's early days, isn't it? It's not, it's early days. We'll review them once a month. We've done it effectively. This is January. So we'll do another one at the beginning of March, and we'll do it every month. We'll have a review on where we are. Really is starting to see a little bit of positivity. It's not back to what it was, but we're getting there. It feels like it's a bit more sentiment coming back, and we're starting to see, especially in the resource space, we're seeing some sentiment there.
Yeah, well, as inflation picks up around the world, which it's obviously happening, then without doubt, resources are going to go up in value. It's a no-brainer. Resources are going to go up in value. Gold dipped down there and then now started to come up. The US dollar has started to go down a little bit. Whether it continues, we don't know, but normally those two are working opposite each other. The US dollar starts to devalue a little bit, gold starts to increase. It's only going to take half a dozen really good stocks to go a bit, not crazy, but to get really good returns. And that will filter down to other stocks, so hopefully that's been the start of it. And let's hope it continues.
Anyway, on that note, we'll wrap it up. Have a great weekend. Enjoy your roast, whatever you have. And we'll see you next week.
Enjoy.
This podcast was brought to you by Roast PR Limited. If you would like to appear on a future episode of The Sunday Roast, please email admin@thesundayroast.net.